My name is Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible, published by John Wiley & Sons, the most comprehensive book ever written on the subject of social media. And today we are here with the legendary Michael Gerber, author of the EMyth and the EMyth Revisited, and advocate of entrepreneurs his whole career. And being an entrepreneur, I particularly appreciate that. And today we'll be speaking about social media and the entrepreneur. So, Michael, it's really great to have you here today.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
This is exciting. I've read your books and always wanted to get a chance to be able to interview you and kind of pick your brain and share it with our audience. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and who you are and something about the EMyth and EMyth Revisited?
Well, I am Michael Gerber. I'm the founder and CEO of EMyth Worldwide, the company I founded in 1977, which today is the world's number one business development resource for small business and now for entrepreneurs,
wow,
as well as the founder and chairman and CEO of a new venture called In the Dreaming Room, as well as the founder of Entrepreneur Capital Corporation,
wow,
the purpose of which is to provide microfinancing for entrepreneurs and business owners, as well as the founding partner of the Entrepreneur Club Network, the purpose of which is to attract entrepreneurs to pursue conversations with each other and with people who have been inordinately successful at founding a venture and ramping that venture up, as well as My Growth Resources.
wow,
Is a venture that is in the works, in the making, to provide My Growth partners, My Growth managers, My Growth coaches, My Growth attorneys, My Growth accountants,
wow,
My Growth capital, and on and on and on, to really feed the resources of entrepreneurship to enable them to have turnkey capabilities and services that can help them to ratchet up their ventures, their ideas, and so forth and so on. So I've obviously been busy.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you have a lot of spare time, which makes me appreciate you taking the time to do this interview even more after hearing that list.
Well, thank you. Oh, I might add my new radio show called, of course, The Michael Gerber Show. It's launched on Biz Radio in Texas, and is soon, our intent is to be syndicated.
Wow. That's absolutely
amazing. I also have one last, my wife is sitting here with me, my partner. She's essentially she's telling me what else I didn't. And finally, it's the Michael Gerber Club,
yeah,
which is a true social network being launched even as we speak.
Wow. Jeez. The thing that's exciting about the work that you do, first of all, for entrepreneurs, I mean, again, my whole career, I've been an entrepreneur and I've built 10 different companies, but the holistic approach that you're taking about providing support, providing guidance, providing capital, Club E, the Phoenix chapter of the Club E is just off the charts. What a great job. I mean, it's such an incredible resource.
Thank you.
Can you just tell us the importance of the American entrepreneur and the entrepreneur around the world? What kind of influence does entrepreneur have on American business?
Well, the entrepreneur, for time immemorial, what I consider to be the creator of all things good and all things bad that happen in a commercial enterprise, the entrepreneur is critical. And critical to economic development, critical to social development, critical to the breaking through into new places that we've never been before, critical in every industry, and every industry obviously is critical in the development of our social networks and our social awareness and our social capability. So great entrepreneurs create great things. Dumb entrepreneurs create dumb things, but we can't blame them because we're all pretty dumb and pretty great both at the same time. But I can't even imagine a world without entrepreneurship as its primary focus. The unfortunate thing is that we really haven't truly understood the true power of entrepreneurship as I have begun to communicate it in my latest book, Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, and as I've communicated it in all my EMyth books, that entrepreneurs are the inventors. They're, as Walt Disney calls it, the Imagineers. They're the ones who conceive of a future that no one else could have imagined until some entrepreneur invented a venture to pursue it.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurs are constantly in pursuit of the impossible. And that's truly the force, the economic force, the social force for every country, every market, every human being on the face of the earth.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, and I love that insight, because if you take a look at some of the greatest heroes that we have in business, whether it's Thomas Edison or George Westinghouse or even Steve Jobs, they are entrepreneurs at heart.
That's exactly what they were. That's exactly what Steve Jobs still is. That's exactly what has created such huge mega breakthroughs in our awareness of how to do things, how to get things done, what things to do, why to do them that way. And so you just look at the passion and the energy that drives that entrepreneurial imagination, and you begin to see that as we become more socially involved, as we become more socially aware of all of the problems that we face in the world, you understand that it's going to be entrepreneurs in what I call this age of the new entrepreneur who are going to break through all of the barriers that confront us, the barriers of energy, the barriers of water, the barriers of food, the barriers of income, the barriers of all the things that keep people where they are, as opposed to liberating them to do the things that we're capable of doing with this huge capability and resource that entrepreneurship or creativity, you might say, is at the source of.
I get so excited when I hear you talk like that, because when I was in my teens trying to go to guidance counseling in college and high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to be, and it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I actually realized that entrepreneur really is a profession and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And when you wrote the EMyth, it was like, wow, this is something that I can be proud of. I'm changing the world.
Yep, it's absolutely true. In fact, it's not a profession in my mind, it's calling.
I totally agree with that. No matter how hard I've tried to keep jobs, I always go back to being an entrepreneur.
Why would anybody want a job?
That's the truth, honestly.
Yep.
What is the order of magnitude? How many single owner businesses do we have, entrepreneurs here in the U.S. today?
Well, that's an interesting question, because it's impossible to answer in one respect, but very possible to answer from an EMyth perspective. I've been told that 67% of all companies in the United States are sole proprietorships.
Wow.
So you understand those sole proprietors are not true entrepreneurs. They're what I've come to call technicians suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure. They went out on their own, but they went out on their own to become their own boss, and that's not a worthy goal or a worthy ambition. Essentially, it keeps everybody small. I get to be my own boss, but now I'm working for a lunatic who has never truly learned what, in fact, one needs to learn to build a truly stunning venture. So I'm essentially saying that the vast majority of companies in the world are not entrepreneurial at all. They're not interested in growth. They're not interested in breaking free of the past. They're not interested in inventing a new modality, a new methodology, a new mindset. They're not interested in transformation at all. They're interested in simply replacing one job where I'm working for someone else to creating my own job where I'm self-employed. So most small companies are really frozen at that place, which is not where one expects them to grow. They're frozen at a size which is only the first step in the process of growing a company. It's called small. Yeah. Obviously, it's got to be small in order to begin, but it doesn't stay small if you're truly approaching it from an entrepreneurial perspective.
I really appreciate that, too, because so many people who just quit their jobs and work for themselves consider themselves entrepreneurs. But you're right. In my career, it's been all about how do I build it? How do I bring it to the customer? Where do I raise the financing to grow my company? How do I start doing international sales? And it was always that constant drive to get bigger and better and provide a better product.
Exactly. And if, in fact, you were able to start a small company knowing the secret sauce that's critical to transforming a situation that a customer, a very specific demographic, has, then you understand immediately that it's just begging to grow. Because there are all those many millions of people who are suffering from their inadequacy that effectively your company was invented to get rid of.
Good point.
And if, in fact, you had invented how to get rid of it, how could you possibly stay small, knowing that people are struggling without your solution all over the place? You couldn't possibly. You'd have to be called to grow.
Absolutely. It's that drive, it's that passion that we all have. And EMyth and EMyth Revisited, don't you kind of talk a little bit about the secret sauce in there, if I remember correctly?
Well, absolutely. And the secret sauce, in my mind, can be found, well, in many, many, many places, but I refer to it to be found in hyper speed at McDonald's or at Dell Computer or at FedEx or at, in fact, Walmart. It's the turnkey system. It's the operating system that enables those companies to differentiate themselves as preferentially unique from all other companies.
Yeah.
So there's the FedEx way, there's the McDonald's way, there's the Starbucks way, there's the Walmart way, and their way, in fact, is nothing more or less than a system, an organized methodology for producing their result in their way, for their reason, to satisfy a real problem with a real solution that nobody else has figured out to do just as well. And they've done that, each of those companies, and many, many, many more. And I'm saying that every company can do that. Every person who, in fact, has an entrepreneur inside of him, inside of her, can see that as the exemplar for building any company, selling any service or product to a world-class level.
Excellent. And that kind of gets back to something that Tom Peters had said back in the mid-'80s about in search of excellence. It's about identifying what your customer's needs are, what sets you aside from everybody else, and then developing that system of delivery with excellence to bring it to your customers. That's what I see makes you kind of set aside from someone who's not a really entrepreneur.
Well, when Ray Kroc started McDonald's, he started it with the license that the McDonald brothers gave him. He started it to build the most successful small business in the world. McDonald's today, no matter what the shifts in that company have been, is today the world's most successful small business. And in effect, even though it's a large company, you understand the secret of its success resides in every single one of its stores.
Yes.
And if it didn't, it wouldn't be the brand that it is today.
True.
And so when you understand that, when you see that, when Tom Peters speaks of excellence, well, of course, excellence. How could you do it any other way? So excellence isn't even a question when you're driven as Ray Kroc was, when you're driven as Michael Dell still is, when you're driven as the founder of Starbucks was and is, to build a stunningly successful company. Excellence is the critical component that is begging the question, how do we do what we do, and how do we do it in such a way that we can deliver a promise continuously to our customer that it will never, ever, ever do any less than that in any other way?
God, I love that. It's absolutely true. One of the things that got me excited about social media a couple of years ago is the fact that small business in particular, and I've spent most of my life as a small business person, with the tools, with the ability to blog and reach tens of thousands of people, with the ability of uploading videos to YouTube and have people view your videos for free, and to be able to create and use some of these social media tools to actually build and do the public relations and the marketing and the sales, all for free. I found that really exciting. What are some of your thoughts about the use of maybe some of these tools for the small business owner that's strapped for cash?
Well, I think they're absolutely transparently necessary. As the technology makes it available, more and more people need to learn about how to use that technology, how to exploit it, to reach the people they formerly couldn't reach because it was too expensive for them. So obviously, social media, if you will, is simply a identification of a technological resource that is available to everyone. They either take advantage of it, they either utilize it, or they fail to. And if they fail to, they cannot build a competitive advantage in their company. So we all have to be continually evolving as these forms of or exercises are made available, as they begin to reveal themselves through technology, through innovation, through capabilities that were formerly not available to us before.
That, I think, is an exciting insight. I heard a couple of things there, is that you really need to take advantage of the tools that are available to you, because if you don't, your competition will, and you need to stay competitive.
Well, right. I mean, can you imagine? I can imagine, because I was there when it was true, when we didn't have computers. Well, can you imagine any business doing business today without a computer? Can you imagine any business doing business today without Windows?
No.
Can you imagine any business doing business today without a fax? Can you imagine any business doing business today without a cell phone? Can anybody imagine doing business today without all of these tools? The vast majority, in fact, all of which I just mentioned, have only been available to us for a very short period of time. Of course, we have to take advantage of it. And, of course, that's the big problem and the big opportunity. The big problem is small business owners are so condensed in the servitude that they have obliged themselves toward. Just doing it, busy, consumed with all the ordinary tasks that they are confronted with and have been confronted with for generations. They haven't the time to envelop these new capabilities that are just waiting for them to use them. And they pay that huge price. They paid the price of no innovation, no quantification, no orchestration, the three essential disciplines of every managed company.
Right.
And therefore, they just end up working for a living.
Those are great insights. I remember when I first got out of college, the computer was just coming out. Nobody really knew what to do with it. It's the same with the fax machine. It had only just come out for a couple of years. And it was amazing to think that back then that people who actually bought a computer or bought a fax machine were considered early adopters, cutting edge.
Yep, it is amazing, isn't it?
And that leads kind of to the next...
I was born in 1936, and if I were to go back and do a study of all of the new things that occurred from after I was born that were not available before I was born,
Jeez.
it's almost a list of everything. You might even say it's a list of everything.
It's close to it.
Nothing was there that we take for granted today.
Amazing. And that kind of leads me to the next question. I mean, where do you think we're going to be in 10 years? Specifically, how do you think the role of the entrepreneur has changed over the last 10 or 20 years? Do you see any changes?
Well, I don't think the role of the entrepreneur has changed. I think that the ability to be an entrepreneur has increased almost exponentially, and that's primarily due to the Internet, due to technology, due to technological opportunities that continually reveal themselves daily. It's almost as though it's an infinite array of options available to us to invent. I think that's also the bad news, because in some way we believe that technology is critical to entrepreneurship. And I don't believe that technology is critical to entrepreneurship. I believe creativity is.
Yeah.
And so we look today at the rate of new businesses. We're told that 500,000 new companies are started in the United States every month.
Wow.
And if you look at the failure rate of businesses, that means that a significant number of those will not be here 5 years from now. And because of that, while entrepreneurship has, might say, is on hyper speed, that is, we get more and more and more and more people starting more and more and more and more ventures, the failure rate is identically the same. And the failure rate is what I address in my EMyth books, what I address in Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, what I address in my new book that will be coming out first part of next year called the EMyth Enterprise. And essentially what it is that there are essential ingredients. I call them the 7 centers of management attention that have never been altered, have never changed, and are absolutely essential if an entrepreneur is to truly become a leader of the enterprise. And that leadership role, the 7 essential disciplines of a world-class company that I describe in my EMyth Mastery book, are as important today as they were 100 years ago.
I love that. The 7 centers of management intention. Can you just talk a little bit about the EMyth Enterprise and what that particular statement means?
Well, it's really very, very simple. You know the words. It's leadership first. It's marketing second. It's finance third. It's management fourth. It's lead generation, lead conversion, and client fulfillment, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And those essential functions, those essential ingredients are organized into a scientific dialogue, one with the other, so that one can begin to see that there's a way to do these things that we believe are simply natural or unnatural talent that people have. These are actually skills that are practiced and can be practiced by anyone. And so it's been my focus in my EMyth Worldwide company, and now in my Dreaming Room company, to teach those skills, to inspire people to develop those skills, to coach people and train people in the utilization of those skills, which are really processes. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is who you then can become when you know how to do this thing that you never knew you had to do before.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, the social media is exactly the same way. It's a set of tools. When they're explained, you can easily understand them, but having someone put them all together in an organized list and explaining them so that you know then how to follow through that process, I think that's worth $1 million.
I think it's worth even more than that.
Good point. I have not had a chance to experience in the Dreaming Room, and I'm really excited to do that sometime. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about what takes place in those conferences?
Well, the Dreaming Room is what I call an entrepreneurial incubator. And by that, I don't mean incubation of the venture. I mean incubation of the entrepreneur. I call it Awakening the Entrepreneur Within. In the Dreaming Room, I teach people what dreaming is. Dreaming, as I call it, intentional dreaming. Not the personal dream, but the impersonal dream.
Mm-hmm.
And that entrepreneurs aren't driven by a personal dream. They're driven by an impersonal dream in order to affect the lives of countless other people through a company that has meaning. And it's the meaning of the company and the meaning of the vision and the meaning of the purpose and the meaning of the mission, all of which serve to manifest the dream in reality as one comes face to face with what he's really here to do. I believe each of us are destined for a purpose here in life.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we discover that or we don't. We don't discover that because we have failed to dream. And we fail to dream in a sufficiently intense way. We fail to dream in a sufficiently aggressive way. We fail to dream because we have turned into people who need to make a living.
Right.
Entrepreneurs don't need to make a living. We all need to make a living, of course, but entrepreneurs are not dedicating their lives to making a living. They're dedicating their lives to creating meaning through a company that is two things. One, transformational, and two, scalable. And I'm suggesting that anybody can, by coming to the dreaming room, begin to plug themselves in to themselves. And that awakening entrepreneur within who has the power to do things we've never imagined before. And that's what happens in the dreaming room. With a blank piece of paper and beginner's mind, we begin the conversation about I have a dream. What is it? I have a vision. What is it? I have a purpose. What is it? I have a mission. What is it? And I take people through that process, and I've done that now in 45 dreaming rooms since I had my very first one in December of 2005.
Wow.
And next year, I'll be beginning to do dreaming rooms significantly larger than the 35 to 50 people I've been doing them with. We'll be doing them with 1,500 people, 2,000 people,
oh my gosh,
2,000 people, as we begin to awaken the entrepreneur within the world in earnest.
It sounds like a movement.
You just said it. It's a movement. Exactly.
I wish these tools were available 20 years ago. Everything that you just said absolutely touched my heart, because that's exactly right. When I built the computer company back in the mid-'80s that developed the first computer to save a human life and worked with physically disabled and developed the head, mouse, and voice recognition environmental control, it really was never about trying to earn a living. It was about trying to help physically disabled and bringing new technology and making the world a better place. That's what my motivation was.
Yeah, absolutely. When you tell me about those things, you're telling me about yourself, telling me that your companies, your inventions were heart-driven before they were head-driven, that your passion was a problem that you just knew you could solve. If you were to only go to work on it, as I say in EMyth, not go to work in it, to invent a way to do that, and once you invented a way to do that, that problem would have gone away. Something new would present itself to you. And then you start again.
I love it. It's so inspirational. Michael, I hate to conclude this, but this, my gosh, this is wonderful. Is there anything else that you can add to the conversation, tell our listeners about regarding the American entrepreneur, social media, and some of the things that are going on?
Well, the American entrepreneur needs to connect with the American entrepreneur, the Bolivian entrepreneur, the Paraguayan entrepreneur, the Argentinian entrepreneur, the entrepreneurs that are awakening all over the universe. And we have to connect with each other. The problem has been that entrepreneurship in many ways is a very solitary venture. That is, we live very much on our own. We create very much on our own. Of course, we need to bring teams around us, but those teams also become circumscribed by the little world they live in. We're so internally focused that we forget that we need to touch others who are dreaming as much as we are. And as that begins to happen, and it will begin to happen with the Michael Gerber Club, with Club Entrepreneur Network, with all of the ventures that I've described and many, many, many more, there's going to be a renaissance of such a size and such a dimension that people cannot even imagine the implications of it. This is an economic movement beyond anything that's ever occurred in the world before. And I'm just delighted that I've been feeding it, I've been nurturing it, I've been supporting it for the balance of my life, and will be until the day I die. This is exactly what you called it. It's a movement. Yeah. And it's a movement that demands, that requires, that inspires that anybody who's entrepreneurial connect with everybody who's entrepreneurial. Begin to understand that the aggregate sum of all of our imaginations will create something beyond anything any one of us could have imagined before.
Wow.
It's called group genius, as one incredible guy once said. And that group genius is really here, waiting to be explored. And when you talk about social media, of course, that's a means through which to begin to open the doors.
Yeah, in social media, they call it wisdom of the crowds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy,
we can call it whatever we want to call it, but when it happens, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Boy, anytime, please, count me in as a member of your team. I am with you 100%. Thank you.
Got it. Well, just go to www.inthedreamingroom.com and sign on the Michael Gerber Club. It's a very, very expensive undertaking. It's $39.95 a month. I'm not giving it away for free yet, but essentially anybody who joins will be able to come to a dreaming room with me once a month for 90 minutes on the telephone live.
Wow.
And we do this. This is what we do, but we do it continually, persistently, nagging at, driving at, playing with problems, opportunities, discussions, conversations, whatever and so forth.
Wow.
And welcome to the club.
Wow. You'd be crazy not to spend that kind of money. That's.
I think you'd be absolutely out of your mind.
Jeez. Thank you. I'd really like to thank you, Michael Gerber, author of EMyth Revisited, Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, the EMyth Enterprise, truly for sharing this passion and inspiration that really has touched my heart for today. So, Michael, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, my delight, and thanks for asking me. And good luck with your great, big, fat, beautiful book.
Thank you. This has been Lon Safko, the co-author of the Social Media Bible. Be sure to check out the other valuable social media tactics, tools, and strategies that can be found in the Social Media Bible book and its companion website, www.thesocialmediabible.com. For more information about me, Lon Safko, please go over to my website at www.lonsafko.com. And again, from the bottom of my heart, Michael, it was wonderful having you here today.
Thank you, Lon. Take care.